Cybernetic Revolution is a core booster set in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game. Released in North America on August 6th, 2005, this set focused mainly on the machine-focused strategies of characters from the GX anime, such as the two Truesdale brothers, Syrus and Zane. Archetypes such as the Roid monsters, as well as the Cyber Dragon series of cards debuted in this set. As far as sets go, this one had a ton of nostalgic cards, not from my earliest years of owning cards, but from when I started learning to properly duel in high school with my friends and brother. Funnily enough, since we never bought individual cards and always just had a random assortment, some of these cards we used came out nearly half a decade before I was even learning the game, so you can imagine the power level of our amateur format. But without further ado, let's dive into my top 10 favorite cards in Cybernetic Revolution. And up first on the list at number 10 is Mad Lobster. Mad Lobster is a water, level 3 aqua normal monster with 1700 attack and 1000 defense, whose flavor text reads, "A gourmet food renowned by the dark world upper crust. It has sensational flavor." Listen, this could have made it into the following list of weirdest monsters in the set, but I really like this guy so much, and there are much weirder ones, so he's going on this list, damn it. I don't know how they managed to capture these abominations in the dark world without getting murdered, but I guess fucking Grapha over here probably chowed down on one of these guys at some point. This is the lore I want to see in my Yu-Gi-Oh! Not that super complicated Albaz or the sinful spoils nonsense. The reasons I like him so much are mainly because of the fact that he's a pretty low level for how strong his stats are. They would be respectable for even a level 4 monster, let alone a level 3. Also, the lore in the flavor text as well as the freaky but kind of funny artwork also give it a leg up. But there's much more to come, folks. We're only at number 10 for God's sake. And up at number 9 is Protective Soul Aelin. Protective Soul Aelin is a light level 1 Fairy Union effect monster with 0 attack and 0 defense with the following effect. Once per turn, you can equip this card to an Indomitable Fighter Lele you control, or unequip it to special summon this card in face-up attack position. When equipped to a monster by this card's effect, you can change that monster's battle position once per turn. A monster can only be equipped with one Union monster at a time. If the equipped monster would be destroyed by battle, destroy this card instead. We go from goofy to kinda serious with this little fairy. Protective Soul Aelin is actually a touching homage to former Upper Deck Entertainment product manager Leighton Kuroshima's son, named Aelin, whom passed away only hours after his birth. The monster it equips to, Indomitable Fighter Lele, is based off of Leighton himself, whose nickname was Lele. That fact alone gives it a good reason to be on this list. I also just have a ton of nostalgia for this monster, it being one of the earlier cards in my collection. Not much else to say about this card, so it occupies a lower spot on the list. And up next at number 8 is Dimension Wall. Dimension Wall is a normal trap card that reads, activate only when an opponent's monster declares an attack. Instead of you, your opponent takes the battle damage you would have taken from this battle.
Mom, I want Magic Cylinder.
We have Magic Cylinder at home, honey. Magic Cylinder at home. Anyway, holy shit. Did I love this card whenever I played a burn deck in high school, whether that be in person or in video game form. Obviously, it's just a worse Magic Cylinder, but I did notice one detail that may make it preferable, obviously in niche situations. While Magic Cylinder targets, this card does not. So theoretically, if an opponent has already used Red Eye's Dark Dragoon's effect to negate a card effect, and then attacks directly or even into a monster, you can still activate Dimension Wall and maybe pull off a win. Listen, I'm just trying to find how this card could be useful in any way since I love it so much. Plus, the lore of the Different Dimensions saga continues in the artwork, making it just that much cooler to me. And at the number 7 spot on the list is DDM, Different Dimension Master. DDM, Different Dimension Master is a light, level 5 spellcaster effect monster with 1700 attack and 1500 defense with an effect that says, once per turn, you can discard one spell card to special summon one of your removed from play monsters. And speaking of different dimension lore, This guy must be the ultimate dimension hopper. From the partially robotic face and body, to the dark cloak with gold accents, to the glowing magical hands, to the really trippy background, I'd say we got a certified banger of a monster artwork. One thing I wish was different about DDM was the level. I know the effect can be sorta strong at some point, but I think he may be too overbalanced by needing a tribute to get onto the field. Although as a soft once per turn, if you have other copies of him in the banish zone and you have multiple spell cards in your hand to discard, you could get out 3 of these guys in 1 turn and do some more extra deck plays. I don't know, guys. The fact that he's a tribute monster and he can't just discard any card kind of makes him not that good. But in my book, he's awesome and deserves to make the list. And at our number 6 spot is Cybernetic Cyclopean. Cybernetic Cyclopean is an Earth level 4 Beast Warrior effect monster with 1400 attack and 200 defense with this simple effect. While you have no cards in your hand, this card gains 1000 attack. Oh, hell yeah. X-Men reference, I think. Look, I've never been into superhero stuff or comics, so take that with a grain of salt. Anyway, this, for some reason, Beast Warrior and not a machine, is super cool and interesting to me. I've owned this card ever since I was a younger kid, and it has always stood out to me, probably for not only the cool and menacing artwork, but the fact that his skin is bright bluish green, one of my favorite colors. Wait a fucking minute, I legitimately did not see this until just now as I was writing this script, but the reason he's a Beast Warrior is that he's literally Hitotsu Me Giant as a cyborg. Why the did I never notice that? I think I'll just quit the video now while I'm down. Sheesh. And about halfway through our list, at number 5 is Dragon's Mirror. Dragon's Mirror is a normal spell card that says, fusion summon 1 dragon fusion monster from your extra deck by banishing fusion materials listed on it from your field or graveyard. Bruh, pairing this with pre-errata future fusion was goated back in the day. Not even needing to wait for future fusion to summon the monster after banishing 5 dragons from your graveyard to make 5-headed dragon was so cool playing against my friends and brother. Instantly being able to summon a 5000 guy felt like you were either the protagonist of the anime or maybe even the villain. I don't know what you guys would think. This card had such utility in any dragon deck I played, where my goal was to either get out the previously mentioned 5-headed dragon, or some extender like King Dragoon. Like, what else is there to say about this card except, mirror, mirror on the wall, it's time to torture my cock and ball. And at our number 4 spot is Fire Darts. Fire Darts is a normal trap card with an effect that reads, activate only while you have no cards in your hand. Roll a 6-sided die 3 times, and inflict damage to your opponent equal to the sum of the die rolls times 100. Look, it's not the best burn card out there, and it's actually relatively obscure to the majority of the fan base, I'm assuming. But when you have a whole bunch of bulk, common, or rare cards at your disposal and never played competitively, you get attached to random cards like Fire Darts, and these cards go into every deck you play, and play against, since we had many copies of this card while I dueled in high school. Even in non-burn decks, we'd play this card, since there was a non-zero chance we'd end our turns with no cards in our hand. And that's the thing. This card would be mediocre at best, but it basically being an Infernity card before Infernity cards were ever released gave it some major downsides, although it honestly would be better in just a pure burn deck than it would in our slop decks, since decks like Chain Burn would just set a bunch of back row anyway, leaving you with an empty hand. Either way, we all played the out of Fire Darts back in the early 2010s, which already gives it major nostalgia points. But the artwork is also pretty metal, although it looks like one of those boomer memes with the skeleton riding a motorcycle with flames in the background. Side tangent, but the memes making fun of those boomer memes are so funny to me for some reason. Like you know, the ones that look like this.
Listen up, liberal. Every time we touch, I get this feeling, and every time we kiss, I swear I can fly.
And up next at number 3 is Roid. Roid is a wind level 4 machine effect monster with 1200 attack and 1800 defense with the following effect. At the time this card is selected as an attack target by an opponent's monster, you can activate trap cards from your hand. Oh, finally! One of the machine monsters I mentioned mainly defined the set, and it's not very good. I mean, to be fair, Roid monsters were never competitively viable to begin with, so, you know. But Roid over here was pretty much my favorite of the OG Roids. From the cool artwork, to the pretty decent stat line, to the fact that you could, in theory, have a handful of battle traps like Sakuretsu armor, mirror force, etc. And your opponent attacks into this thing if they're stupid, of course, since just playing this card in attack position and nothing else is pretty sus. I really enjoyed this card as a kid/teenager. I can honestly say that I never really played it in any deck I made back then though. I think my one friend did use it and it got me good a few times, but I learned quickly and just hit him with some removal spell, so I didn't have to deal with Walmart Macura the Destructor over here when I attacked. And the runner-up spot on our list at number 2 is Des Frog. Des Frog is a water level 5 aqua effect monster with 1900 attack and 0 defense with an effect that says when this card is tribute summoned, you can special summon Des Frogs from your hand or deck up to the number of tadpoles in your graveyard. I've always just loved the early Des monsters, from them just being straight up real life animals with an aura surrounding them, to the fact that in Japan, instead of Des, they're called Death, which is metal and kind of stupid when it comes to the censorship in the West. I can't find much I don't like about the Des series of monsters, and Des Frog is no exception, making it to the number 2 spot on the list. He's both cute and menacing. Just knowing that his real name is Death Frog, all while looking so innocent, giving you the side eye, is pretty unsettling. Its effect isn't really super good since you have to have the graveyard set up to even get good value off of it, but that's beside the point. The whole concept of Des Frog is just so cool and funny to me that I've always loved it. Plus, he's technically in one of my favorite archetypes, the Frogs. Yo, where my Paleo Frog players at? Free my boy Totally Awesome from the Master Duel ban list, come on. All in all, Des Frog is deserving of one of the top spots on the list, but we still have one more card that is at the top, so let's get into it. And the winner of my favorite cards in Cybernetic Revolution goes to Cyber Twin Dragon. Cyber Twin Dragon is a light level 8 machine fusion effect monster with 2800 attack and 2100 defense, which requires Cyber Dragon plus Cyber Dragon as materials to fusion summon, and has this effect. A fusion summon of this card can only be done with the above fusion materials. This card can make a second attack during each battle phase. I bet y'all were waiting for Cyber Dragon to make an appearance on the list. Well, here's the representative. One of the most badass, yet straightforward OTK machines I had at my disposal back in the day. While I never owned Cyberstein, I did own Metamorphosis, so back in high school, I'd get a level 8 monster out on the field, and as soon as I activated that Metamorphosis, I either got a Solemn Judgment with no hesitation, or my opponent's face just fell, as they had no out to it, and knew that I was planning on using this with limiter removal to just end their pathetic existence. Like, I'm glad I owned at least some good cards, even if they were past their prime by the 2010s. Well, maybe not Metamorphosis, but that card was banned from tournaments at that point, and we played with no ban list. But holy shit, from the artwork to the stats to the ease of access to an OTK to the whole concept of being simple yet deadly, I really do believe that Cyber Twin Dragon is by far my favorite card in Cybernetic Revolution. Well, folks, I've completed yet another list of my favorite cards in the core Yu-Gi-Oh sets. This one was a nostalgia bomb, but mainly for the high school days, not so much the earliest days. Anyway, that's it for my time, guys. Remember to like the video, subscribe if you're new here to become a Scrubscriber, as well as becoming a channel member if you can afford it, and make sure to comment below what your favorite cards are in Cybernetic Revolution. And I will see you guys next time.